Hi, I'm Jen Tackney.
And I'm Jeff Tackney.
And we're
TeamTackney.
And today we are talking about how to buy a house with no competition, no bidding wars. So you can tell Jeff is very relaxed to have this conversation. Buying a home is stressful, especially in this market where there's very low inventory and there's more buyers than sellers. So the number one tip. Tip number one. For buying a home with no competition is to work with a neighborhood expert. Why work with a neighborhood expert, Jeff?
Because they know the ins and outs of the neighborhood. They know who's going to move, when they're going to move. It's kind of like eat where the truckers eat because they know the ins and outs of it. They're in the trenches every day, and so stuff that hasn't hit the market, that neighborhood expert's going to know those properties that haven't hit the market, so that you can get people in before it even hits the market.
So for example, we go on a lot of listings. I was speaking to a family where they weren't quite ready to move yet, but they said the original owner around the corner just passed away. You know, that house is now vacant. So a lot of people in the neighborhood will let us know where the vacant houses are. And so even if that person isn't going to list with us, we know about 90% before they list. So we have at times gotten our buyers into those listings prior to the sellers choosing who they're going to list with. We've had our buyers in there and in escrow off market. And also as a neighborhood expert, we are at pizza parties for different teams. We sponsor different teams. So we sponsor neighborhood garage sales. We're talking to all these people in the neighborhood. So we hear about who's next to move, you know, whose friends, family members are going to be selling their home. So working with a neighborhood expert is your tip number one, best bet to get your offer accepted, no competition, no bidding war.
Tip number two
is to think outside the box. Yeah. So where that's said, kind of also be aggressive. With tip number two, we had a buyer that I was showing a property to in Cyprus. It's a neighboring city, and they didn't really like that property, but they said, you know, at the end of this cul-de-sac, there's a house that looks vacant, looks really run down. You know, we're really interested in that house. It looks like no one's there. And I said, how about we go knock on the door? So the buyer went with me and we knocked on the door, and surprisingly, someone answered. And I said, hi, this is my buyer. They really love your house. Have you had any thoughts of selling? And he said, yeah, call me in 30 days. And we did. And they love their home. They just remodeled the kitchen. I got text messages last night, actually, and they are in love with their home because they thought outside the box. They saw a house that looked distressed that they were interested in, and we made it happen for them.
So get creative and think outside the box. That's tip number two. Tip number three, trust the process.
Tell us more about trusting the process, Jeff.
Well, I can tell you firsthand that we had to trust the process when we bought our own personal home a few years ago. We contacted the neighborhood expert, which happens to be ourselves. We were extremely creative, and Jen here was very, very aggressive as far as contacting an original owner who we knew wanted to sell their home, and it was a property that we had really had our heart set on. We were aggressive, made an offer, had to negotiate and really, really negotiate in that process. But because of that, we ended up securing the property and being able to build the home of our dreams. It was not easy, and it was nerve-wracking, and it was scary, and there was some pitfalls along the way, and we had to be very creative as far as selling our home and to purchase the one we're in now, and it was nerve-wracking to say the least. But because we trusted the process, we were able to secure the home of our dreams.
And that was an off-market home. So to backtrack on how we ourselves were able to purchase a home without competition and without the bidding war is I wrote a lot of personal letters, and I found the sellers of what we wanted, which was a large lot in West Garden Grove. And that seller, when it was time to sell, actually came to our office and let us know that he wanted to sell his house. And we said, well, we have a buyer for your home, and it was us. And one thing that I always tell our buyers is that what you are seeking is seeking you. And 2 months before that seller came into our office, we had sponsored Christmas caroling and Christmas light seeing in the neighborhood. And I drove, when the double-decker bus drove past that house, I said to a neighbor, I'm gonna live there someday. And 2 months later, that seller came into our house. So when the intention is clear, the mechanism will appear. And I always tell our buyers that it will happen if, like Jeff said, you trust the process and you believe that the right house is waiting for you.
Because let me, if you don't mind, piggyback on that, because we had written offers on other homes, one in particular that we really wanted, and it didn't work out. And so that was discouraging, but in trusting the process, like Jen said, we were able to secure our dream home.
So that's it. Those are the 3 tips for winning without a bidding war and without competition.
Yep.
Tip number 1, trust your neighborhood expert.
Yep.
Tip number 2, think outside the box.
Yep. And tip number 3,
from our calming factor, Jeff Tackney,
trust the process.
So thanks for watching. We're Team Tackney. Let us know if you have any questions. If you want to reach out, feel free to give us a call, leave a comment, give us a like and a subscribe. We'll see you soon.
Bye for now.